What's good, fellow humans? If you are a returning viewer, then welcome back. Good to see you. If you're somebody new to the channel, then welcome to you as well. My name is Caleb, and this is where we document our experiences as we slow and budget travel to different places around the world. Today, I wanted to tell you guys a little story. I wanted to tell you a story of how I went from working in restaurants to traveling full-time on a budget for the past 5 years, and some of the sacrifices and choices that we had to make along the way to get here. Right now I'm in the public plaza of the giant complex that I'm staying in right now here in Vietnam. And this is going on, I think, close to year 5 of traveling permanently for less than maybe $1,000 a month on average. For myself, that's $2,000 a month for 2 people. About 6 years ago, Shaylin and I were just working normal jobs in our hometown of Salt Lake City, Utah. We were earning average wages and doing okay there, but we made a concerted effort together for about a year to try and save as much money as we could in preparation for leaving the country with a little bit of savings. So we worked our butt off, and Shaylin actually worked 2 jobs for about, 10 months or something, which was pretty rough, but we managed to save around 10,000 USD to take with us. That's really not that much, but I would recommend maybe at least to something like that, maybe 5,000 if you're one person, if you're going to try to do something like this. We, upon leaving, did not have any remote income. We left during the height of the COVID pandemic, which meant that some flights were cheaper, but our options were limited. One of the few countries that allowed people in during that time was Ecuador. So that's where we ended up. We bought one-way tickets to Ecuador, and we started out knowing that we were going to have to be on a budget. So we took advantage of things like Woof and Workaway to get us started and to save on rent costs. The first place that we arrived to in Ecuador was a little town called Vilcabamba. We had plans to work on a permaculture farm there in Vilcabamba for a month or 2 to get us started and see what we wanted to do next. We ended up not really liking that farm very much because the owner was strange, and the work they had us do was a little bit odd as well, mostly just physical labor jobs that I don't really have a problem with, but we were only staying in a pretty busted up tent with minimal resources, and the vibes were definitely not what we expected on that particular farm. So we decided to leave after just a couple of weeks. The little town that the farm was outside of, called Vilcabamba, in the southern part of Ecuador, up in the Andes Mountains, was a really beautiful town. So we decided to try to find a place to rent there for a few months while we worked on our next move. We found a pretty good place, actually, thanks to the help of a friend of ours that stopped us on the street. He was, I think he's a Venezuelan guy that lived in Ecuador at the time. And he helped us find a cheap apartment it was a 2-bedroom apartment for only 250 USD at the time per month, including rent, electricity, water, and internet, which was an awesome deal for us. I'm pretty sure that same apartment would charge a little bit more these days, but at the time, like 4 years ago, it was 250 USD a month. This gave us a bit of a buffer and some time to decide our next move. I think we stayed there for 2, maybe 3 months, and during that time, one of the first things we did was begin working on some ways to make mobile or fully remote income. There's a couple paths you can take to make full remote income these days. Something like coding, SOEing, like digital marketing, or content creation of various kinds, or content curating for other influencers that already exist, or some other skills like you can teach athletics online, you can teach a skill online. We took advantage of being native English speakers and kind of went the easy route, and we got TEFL certifications. We found a pretty good deal. If you just do a little bit of Google searching, you can probably find something similar, but we found a 180-hour TEFL certification for about 120 USD. We each got one, and I think it gives you like a certain amount of time to finish it. We both finished our TEFL certification while living there in Ecuador, in Vilcabamba, in this little apartment. Also during that time, we began, because we had still our Workaway subscription, which lasts about a year. I think it's like $75 for a year, and it is totally worth it, especially if you're somebody who wants to budget travel. We took advantage of this by starting to contact other farms in Ecuador that seemed interesting to us, and one of the farms was Finca Pingüino in Canoa, or just outside of Canoa, Ecuador, in Manabí, close to the coast. We ended up really liking them, and they vibed with us as well. So after our third month in Vilcabamba, we hopped on a bus. It's a long bus ride. It's like an 11-hour bus ride to the coast to find and go stay at their farm. We went and stayed at their farm for like 4 months, and we really liked it there. We really like that family, and they're still really good friends of ours, and we actually plan to return to that farm here next month to farm sit for them. But during that time some kids screaming. During that time on their farm, we started to use our TEFL certification to... What is going on over there? To try and find some clients online to teach English. We applied to a couple of different websites. There's a lot of different websites that you can do or work for, or you can try to find your own clients. This is a little bit harder, but starting with something like Cambly, Amazing Talker, Preply, there's quite a few different websites where you can teach English or other skills nowadays, so apply with one of them. We ended up working with a couple of them and finding some of our own customers, but it was very slow to start. We realized that the farm was not the best place for us to try to build our online careers at the time, because the internet was super limited and there was a lot of power outages in that area during those years. So we decided to leave the farm, and we went and rented a little studio in that beach town, Canoa, for I think like 300 USD or a little bit, 280 USD a month, right by the beach, and we stayed there and we tried to both build our online remote income. It started to grow, and it got to the point where we had a little bit more options about what we wanted to do and where we wanted to live. So, not sure about things, because at this point our 10,000K savings was definitely depleted, because at the moment we were only making a few $100s a month, and our monthly costs were a little bit higher than that. So once we got down to about 3,000 USD after being in Ecuador for almost a year. We flew to Quito, which is the capital of Ecuador, and we stayed there for 3 months trying to decide whether we wanted to return to the United States with our last money, or try to bet on ourselves and see if we could make something work here and increase our monthly income teaching English online. We chose to bet on ourselves, and it ended up being the correct decision, because we did end up increasing our monthly income to the point that we could sustain ourselves and continue to travel. We still don't make very much a month, but we also really value our time and our work-life balance. Shaylin and I probably only work 25 to 35 hours a week, and this is definitely enough for us to travel. We both charge around like $25 to $20 an hour, which isn't super great compared to US incomes, but for a lot of places in South America or Southeast Asia, this is pretty good hourly income. So we found us in the position of having enough mobile income to keep doing this. So after Ecuador, we had been in Ecuador for like 2 years at this point, so we significantly overstayed. We did get the 6-month extension, but upon leaving Ecuador at this point, we were banned for 2 years unless we wanted to pay like an $800 fee per person, which we not only didn't want to do, but would have been difficult for us to afford at the time. Before leaving Ecuador, we managed to save back up to 10K, being super frugal and going to stay in that other town, Vilcabamba, again for another 6 months. After Ecuador, we went to Colombia. We stayed there for, I think, 4 months. It's a beautiful country. After Colombia, we traveled to southern Brazil, and we loved southern Brazil as well. We went to a city called Torres, and we found out that southern Brazil is not like northern Brazil and has great infrastructure, and you can drink the water and stuff like that. From there, we took the bus through Uruguay, stayed in Uruguay for a little bit, then went to Argentina through Uruguay, and we stayed in Argentina for 6 months, which was also absolutely amazing. We were there when it was cheapest in 2024, which was super lucky for us. So it was super affordable to stay in Buenos Aires, and we also went to Ushuaia in the very south. We went to Posadas in the north, and we actually stayed in Argentina for 6 months, and it's probably still one of our favorite countries. From there, we went to Peru. Yeah, we went to Peru after Argentina. At this point, we were both making decent online incomes, and it was enough to sustain our travels and continue to save a little bit, which was really nice and exactly what we were trying to do this whole time. So at that point, we had basically done what we wanted to do. We were full-time travelers making remote income, kind of going wherever we wanted, whenever we wanted. We did have a little setback in Peru because we made a rookie mistake of, on one of the buses back to Lima, we put our backpacks in the overhead storage compartment and we didn't pay attention. Somebody or some people switched out our backpacks with theirs. This was disastrous because our working laptops, passports, and cash were in those backpacks. Hold on to your stuff in Latin America. It's generally safe in a lot of places, but theft is super common, so just hold on to your stuff and be aware and don't give anybody the chance to take your things. So we lost probably $2,000–3,000 worth of gear and money, and we were passportless. Luckily, we were on our way back to Lima, and we already had paid for the next couple of months of a Airbnb to stay in Lima. So there is a big US embassy in Lima. We set up an appointment there, and we actually ended up getting new passports and replacement passports, full valid passports, in the city of Lima through the US embassy there. It was actually a little bit quicker than doing it in the States. We were able to get our passports in like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, which was awesome. So now we are good. Our passports only had a couple more years on them anyway, but now our passports are valid for another decade, which is awesome, so we don't have to worry about that. So that was a little bit of setback, and expect things like this when you're traveling. Even if you are able to make a bit of an income and you have a little bit of savings, stuff is going to happen. We had another setback a little bit later that I'll talk about, but after Peru, we went to Ilhabela in Brazil for a few months, and this is one of my most personally underrated places in South America. Is Ilhabela. It's like just means beautiful island in Portuguese, but you can get there from Sao Paulo, and it's a super awesome island with super beautiful beaches, some of the most beautiful beaches that I've ever seen in all of our travels. But We at this point managed to come back a little bit. This is like 4 or 5 months after our things got stolen. We managed to recover from this a little bit and still had a decent savings. We were back over 10K, which honestly isn't that much, but it's a little bit of a buffer to do what we do, and we don't make that much monthly. So finding cheap accommodations continues to be a high priority for us, and that's why we make videos on budget travel, and we focus on budget and slow travel to help other people who are only making maybe 1,000, 2,000 USD a month, to help them travel and to show them that it's totally possible. You do not need a large income to travel. We decided after Brazil that we had enough of South America, since we had been traveling in South America for like 3-4 years at that point, and we bought tickets to Thailand. Thailand was cheap tickets, so that's one of the reasons we flew there, and it is definitely really popular these days. So we flew to Thailand, and that's where we had another setback because of the super long immigration line in the Lisbon airport in Portugal, and the only 2-hour layover that we had, we missed a flight. We missed our flight from Lisbon to Bangkok, and we had to buy another flight for, I don't know, it was like $700 each from Lisbon to Bangkok for basically that same day. And this is another setback of about $1,500. Not that bad, not as bad as when our stuff got stolen, but still unfortunate. So we did then manage to get to Bangkok. We stayed in Bangkok and in a place called Sriracha, which is maybe an hour outside of Bangkok, which is totally cool, and I recommend that area. It's super chill, and the prices are way better than Bangkok, and you're close enough to Pattaya and to Bangkok that you can check out both cities pretty easily. And now we're getting pretty close to where we are now. So we spent 2 months in Bangkok, well, in Thailand, since that's the visa length that they allow now for US citizens. And finally, we come to where we are now, which is Vietnam. This is the next country that we flew to after Thailand, and is where we currently are, here in Vung Tau, Vietnam. Vietnam is pretty cool too, honestly. Definitely some cultural differences from the West, but there's probably the cheapest food costs that we have currently seen anywhere in our travels so far, which is absolutely enjoyable, and we can basically eat out every single day. It's almost cheaper just to eat out than it is to buy groceries here. But this video is approaching like 20 minutes now. I just wanted to tell you guys how we managed to be full-time travelers and some of the choices that we had to make to get to this point. So now our monthly income is as high as ever. We continue to build on that and to build alternative businesses as well. Now that we've been super budget travelers for years, we are starting to do a business telling others how they can budget travel and how they can start digital nomading. And we will actually return to South America to farm sit for those friends that we stayed with maybe 2-3 years ago in Finca Pinguino on the coast in Canoa, Ecuador. We left the United States with 10K. We bet on ourselves without any remote income. We built an online business teaching English privately and for companies to the point that we can sustain ourselves traveling full time. We got down to about 3,000, were unsure what to do, decided to stay in Ecuador to see what we could build, which was the right choice now looking back at it. And this has probably been, I would say, the best time of my life, the past 5 years. Shaylin and I traveling around the world, going wherever we want, has given me an ultimate sense of freedom and independence that I always longed for. And the amount of places and cool things we've been able to see and activities we've been able to do that we would have never otherwise been able to do if we stayed in our hometown of Salt Lake has been incredible. And I am so very grateful and thankful for all of my students, all of the support from anybody that we've received over the years. And I just wanted to let other people know that if you're just working a regular job in your hometown, save up for a little while, try to build an online skill, Get out there, start, and see what you can come up with. So it's possible. You can do it. You can be a traveler if that's what you want. There are definitely some difficulties and some stresses to be had. If you have any more questions on how we do what we do, or are looking for specific information on places or methods that we use to keep our budget low, say in the comments. Let us know your experience, if you've done anything like this, or if you know anybody that's done anything like this. And I'm excited to try and continue to build a community around slow travel and budget traveling and alternative lifestyles in general. So thanks for listening, guys. Peace out, and till next time. Bye.